This is Linux in Laws, a podcast on topics around free and open source software, any associated contraband, communism, the revolution in general, and whatever else fancies your tickle. Please note that this and other episodes may contain strong language, offensive humor, and other certainly not politically correct language. You have been warned. Our parents insisted on this disclaimer. Happy, Mum? Thus, the content is not suitable for consumption in the workplace, especially when played back on a speaker in an open plan office or similar environments. Any minors under the age of 35, or any pets, including fluffy little killer bunnies, your trusted guide dog, unless on speed, and cute T-Rexes or other associated dinosaurs. Welcome to Linux in Laws, Season 2, Episode 22. Yes, Mr. Visser, again. Martin, how are things?
Well, fine with me, but I think one of your friends is resigned today, isn't he?
Do not know. I thought we decided to keep current affairs out of the podcast.
Oh, I thought you were great friends with Leo.
Leo who?
What's his name?
DiCaprio.
The T-Shock.
No.
The T-Shock.
If you're referring to Irish current affairs, I haven't checked the news yet. So.
Okay, all right.
So, Leo, if you're listening, the email address is feedback@linuxinlaws.eu. Feel free to send me a link or something. Okay, but this is not about Irish politics, but rather about the British weather. No, Martin, what's the weather like in Great Britain? It's raining, I suppose, as usual.
No, we're good.
Excellent. We're recording this in December of 2051, and it's still kind of balmy, I reckon 50 degrees, just outside Birmingham, I suppose. Thanks to global warming and stuff.
Depends which unit you're thinking about. Celsius or Fahrenheit?
Centigrade, yes. Fahrenheit is probably a bit too cold for that time of the year in the 50s for Great Britain. But this is not about the weather, but rather a podcast about open source technology. And with that, I would like to welcome Werner Koch, the inventor of Gnu GPG.
Yo, hello.
And without further ado, Werner, why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay, so some people know me. I'm Werner Koch. I'm from the Neanderthal, which is close to Düsseldorf. And I'm 26 years ago, I wrote a little tool called GPG, which was the free version of PGP. And for the GNU project. So it was kind of a fun project to do something else than what I did before.
But before we go into the details of the project, why don't, for the two listeners in the audience who are not concerned with privacy, I suppose, never mind Phil Zimmerman's original work. So why don't we set the scene and discuss a little bit about the history? Why GPG came into existence all these years ago, and what happened prior to you writing the code base?
Yeah, the main reason was that the export restriction in the US, and the other reason are patents, which are a bit interweave both problems. So it turned out that US people couldn't write any crypto software back then, though we have been in the last millennium. And so Richard Stallman came to Aachen around, and he told something there. You guys here from Europe, you can help us and write some crypto software, for example, an encryption tool like PGP. And because we can import it, but you can export it, but not the other way around. Unfortunately, all the patents expired. That was in 1997. There was a major patent which hindered all kind of public key cryptography, and that expired. And so back in fall 1997, I just sat down and wrote a replacement of PGP using different algorithms, but which was patent-free and not from the US, and it also was more Unix-like than the original DOS tool PGP.
Before we go even further, for the one member in the audience who does not know what pretty good privacy is, we should probably set the scene why Phil Zimmermann wrote that tool all those kind of 40, 50, 60 years, I'm joking, about 30 plus years ago, in terms of what it does, what it is, and how it works, and why it is so bloody important.
And also, what's his relation to you?
Well, I met Phil a couple of times, so and we had no relations before I wrote GNU PG, and okay. Let's start. I think in the early 90s, 1991 or so, Phil was an activist in the anti-nuclear movement. And there are a lot of capitalists and a lot of money there, and so there was wiretapping. Everything was a big thing, like always, like still. And so they used BBS, so bulletin board services. So not right, the internet there. And they thought
in Stone Age, exactly.
Well, not really Stone Age. Stone Age is more than the Neanderthal here. So they needed some tool to do the electronic crypto to hide or communicate confidential. And so you wrote a tool, PGP1, and then it spread out to the internet, and people showed him that his algorithm wasn't that good. And like people like Hal Finney and Peter Goodman and John Callas came together, and they wrote a new algorithm, and that was the beginning of PGP2. I think it was in 93. And that was a tool which was very, very interesting. So you could do kind of, what only the military had, and the three-letter agencies like cryptography and all these things. You could do it on your home PC. Cool tool. It was also ported to Unix, not really like a Unix tool, but usable. And the early mail programs like Pine and later Mutt, and what else do we have? I can't remember, XMH and so on. They all gained support for PGP then. But, there was this problem with the US armed trafficker rules, and so Phil was sued, and he had to shut down his company, and all kind of trouble there. When the I think there's a Wikipedia entry which is probably more correct than what I can tell here from my mind. But Phil then all the processes where he was sued, they were settled, and I think in 1996 he founded another company, PGP Incorporated, and they wrote a new version of PGP, PGP5, originally named 3, but that was PGP5, which didn't use the RSA algorithm, which was the reason for all these trouble with the patents and the export and strange things. They had to use the. Now, I don't go into this. That would take too long. So a new company wrote a PGP5, and then he said, "Oh, I hope it does not happen again that I have to shut down the company and run into problems." So we make our specification open. The source code was anyway open, but it was not free software, so there were restrictions on the code, like in proprietary. But you could compile it yourself, in theory, but they couldn't export it legally, except if they put it in book form, and they did it. I think there were 2 large books. Then they printed it, shipped that to the Netherlands and Norway, to the Netherlands, and they scanned it, and could compile then the code over there, and it was legally exported. Because it was a book, and it was not software, which only software was restricted. Yes, also, so he went at the Munich IETF in 97, in fall 97, they founded the working group for OpenPGP, and this was based on the data formats of PGP5, which is an extension of PGP2 data formats, and Yeah, at the same time I started with GNU-PG, and so I merged these specifications, and so we did the same thing and worked together with the engineers of PGP.com to have a good specification and 2 implementations, which worked very well together. So, and that was and in 98 we had the RFC 2440, which was the first open specification for OpenPGP. And so we implemented that, and yeah, there we go. That's also, of course, the PGP Incorporated was then sold to Network Associates, I think, and then in the end, they now belong to Symantec. And Phil once told me that he thinks that PGP is maintained in some country with a lot of inhabitants. So basically, it is in kind of maintenance mode and not really well maintained. So fact is that GNU-PG or GPG is the de facto standard for OpenPGP for quite some time now.
And many tools support this, right? Firefox as a modern tool, kind of whatever. I think even not OpenOffice, but LibreOffice also has an implementation of GPG built into it, if I'm not completely mistaken, for signing documents or encrypting documents, right?
That's right. They use a GPGME library, which is a library which accesses GPG, and so you need to install GPG, and if it's installed, LibreOffice can use it to encrypt stuff and sign stuff, and so on. We will also have support in Ocula, which is a KDE PDF viewer and more and PDF editor, so we can actually do qualified electronic signatures with GNU-PG there. And of course, Thunderbird, which is the other, well, it's probably main in the free world, which is the main mail user agent, what they call mailer. And that used to use GPG with the NICMail plugin for many years, but due to changes in Thunderbird, Enigma couldn't work anymore, and they started more or less from scratch and used the Ribose NetPGP implementation for it. And yeah, it's not yet at the same maturity level as it was with Enigma, so I mean Thunderbird, but it's working very well. So our text advisor, for example, is using that, and everyone, the schools here in North Rhine-Westphalia are using GNU-PG, and so it's used at a whole lot of places. Well, basically, if you want to encrypt something on the internet and the data, it's OpenPGP, either using Thunderbird or some tool which uses under the hood GNU-PG.
So clearly, yes, documents, emails is a one of the uses of GNU-PG, right? But I think there are some others, like your things like password managers and things like that. They also use GNU-PG, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Pass or Qt Pass. Oh, we now have a GPG Pass, which is basically the same as Qt Pass. Actually, I like Pass, which is a little command line tool, and it uses GPG for encrypting your passwords. So I mentioned, and I think K-Wallet also uses this, and well, nearly everyone, I think.
I think one of the most commonly uses of GPG people come across is really the package signage as well, isn't it? Really?
Yes, that's right. So that's the reason why we sometimes say it's GNU-PG is that widely used on every Linux machine. But I don't think that it is the best use of GPG here. So, for example, OpenBSD uses a very simple tool for this, and the more interesting thing here is that you can build up a public key infrastructure with your developers. So in particular with Debian, they have a lot, and I think also Arch and Gentoo, they also have a lot of developers who are all, I think they are required all to have the PGP key, and so basically use GPG to sign their packages and hopefully also their commits and everything. And in the end, this can then be used to sign the, I think they sign the packages file from Debian. So yes, it is used for this. But there are a lot of use cases which are not that well known. Backup software, for example, is also very often has support for OpenPGP.
Okay. Are there any other of those sort of lesser known usages of the?
Yeah, there is also if you go, I think the we're talking about free software for Linux, but also there is this Windows thing, which some people use, actually most. But we also have a lot of free software on Windows, and GPG for Win, which is installer packaging or everything from GNU PG with a couple of tools. It's very widely used. I think we have downloads of 150,000 or so per month from this installer. And if you look for how can I order something there, which is not legal in all countries, you find a lot of how-tos, how to do this with GPG for Win. I mean, in Germany, we have this cannabis is now free from April, but in other countries not. Or so that's more of the fun. That's not that serious, but for some people it is also serious. Or like if you have some drugs you need and you can't get them in your country, that seems also to be a reason why you need to buy something on the black market or on the gray market or so. I don't know. More serious are, meanwhile, we have the German government is using GPG, GNU PG a lot. The CERTs, the Computer Emergency Response Teams, who handle all these exploitable bugs in software, they are all using OpenPGP to communicate with the reporters and so on.
Okay. So it's got many. I guess as you mentioned, anything that needs to be securely communicated can be
right.
used. Yeah.
Right, and sending passwords and so on. And for example, we do our backups also. We just pipe it through GPG, and so you're sure that your secrets under /etc, which is things are not somewhere stored on some disks or tapes in the clear. And well, I think a lot of people are using it this way. Also, that police is doing their forensic analysis, which they have to send off to other places. I mean, to other police stations or in the offices. They sometimes in the terabyte size. They encrypt it with GPG. Then.
Okay, so do you spend a lot of time optimizing the process there?
Yeah.
Or the code, let's put it that way. For those larger data sets.
Yeah. I mean, they are interested in making things much faster. They used something called Chiasmus, which is a proprietary German software with a proprietary algorithm, and it was very, very slow. So they were really glad when they could start using GPG instead. And I think a few years ago it was still too slow, and we've made it a lot faster in the meantime. So particular our hardware. No, what they say, our assembler hacker from Finland is doing a lot of work here. You see.
Okay, so you have a fairly big community, or you have a community of people helping to improve the.
Yeah, well, yes, I think UC is one of the few is doing a lot of work in optimizing things. So he likes to write assembler code and optimizing things for this CPU and for the other CPU, and he can do this and with that CPU much faster and things, and that's cool. On the other end. The other hackers on GNU-PG, I think, are all mostly employees of my company or freelancers.
Employees of your company, do you say?
Yeah, G10 Code. That's my company, or I share with Andre Heinecke. And
speaking of which, when did you set this up and why? Why is probably the easiest? Is probably the easier question.
Why? Yeah, well, back in, I thought it was a good idea in 2001. So I first started with another, we founded an internet service provider, OpenIT back then, I think in 2000. And so my goal was to do the software side, but it didn't really match. So doing ISP stuff and software development, so there was some mismatch, and so I set up my own company later, G10 Code, and with the idea to provide support for GNU-PG and do custom development. And for many years we did custom development jobs, so little projects, and try to get some money from this. It worked for some time good, not so good, most of the time not that good. And in 2019, I sat together with Andre, who I know for many years, and we worked together, and we decided that we need to change our business model, and don't do these projects, but have a constant revenue stream to just hire people and get also some money that we can just live from what we are doing. And well, it worked very well then.
So how did you change that business model then?
Yeah, I think there are two factors. Before that, we tried for many years with a partner company. We worked together. We tried to set that up, but it didn't work out with them. There are too many. Yeah, I didn't really like this, or I don't know. So, and then Andre canceled his job over there, and we refounded, or you bought the shares from my brother from G10 Code, and then we set it up in a different way so that we provide support, and we sell the support. And the idea is that our customers can directly talk to the developers, so they can have technical direct contact and no call center somewhere in India or wherever. And well, actually, they like this. This is one thing, and the other thing is that we have this approval for restricted communication in Germany, and this approval. And there are two software packages. There are two software packages which can be used for this in Germany. One is from a company in Gelsenkirchen, and the other is from ours. Ours is the only open source thing. And it turned out that people liked ours most, and it was really a success. So. We said, okay, we get a couple of large customers, and so we can finance our life and our hacking on this. But meanwhile, we are, I think, 12 people in the company, and it works very well. Yeah.
Right. So essentially, you got the official seal of approval from the German government for your encryption technology.
Yeah, right. That was, I think, 4 years ago. No, 5 years ago. 5 years. I think the first one in 2015, in 19. I can't remember. So that was. It takes long. So to get the the approval done.
But it's the public sector. That's to be expected, I suppose, whether you
Well,
went in Germany or not.
Yeah, it is a public sector, but where do we have restricted communication or needs for this secrets? This is also in the in the military area, and this of course means that there's also a lot of industry which needs to communicate with the with federal offices and the German forces and so on, and NATO forces, and so they are using this software.
Okay.
And so it just spread from the public sector to the industry, and they are using mostly the VS version, so the approved version. But we are also approaching the customers with a cheaper support option for the general version, which is not approved but a bit more modern and so on. That's what we're currently working on, and for large industries. So for in particular aviation industry is interested in this.
To implant yourself or the company for that matter in that way, in a very cash-rich, I'm tempted to say, sector, named the public sector and surrounding industries, that's just a license to print money, no?
Pardon me?
That's pretty much a license to print money, no?
Well, yes.
Indeed.
Yeah.
I mean, just take a look at Nextcloud. I mean, well, sorry, for those two people in the audience who don't know, the Nextcloud is essentially a fork of what used to be known as OwnCloud, as in Frank Karliczek and friends, and they serve a lot of public sector companies with their technology, which is of course open source. You can find on GitHub. The company model the business model is slightly different because they provide many services and custom development, as in the stuff you did prior to getting your seal of approval, so to speak. But I wouldn't say that Nextcloud was rolling in cash, but they keep hiring, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, well, it's a solid business model for us at least. And actually, my experience is that people who are responsible working with software and software deployments, they know that support or someone to make responsible for this. So is a good way. Our approval says that you need to have someone for this. You just can't use that software, but you need to have someone who is going, who you can contact or who is going to contact you in case of problems. So this is the level we are using here. But indeed, it is. There's no real problem to just sell them support, or we call that support license because the salespeople know this term license, and so we say, "Oh, that's a support license. It's not the software." And as part of our support, you get the software for free. Then it's anyway. They also get the source, of course. And from all that revenues, we can just develop and continue to give away our community version GPG for Win, basically, and of course the parts which we have in all Linux distributions, Gnu PG and so on. That's really nice. So from all the money which flows in, we can continue the development, and there's for private people, for non-companies, they just have the same opportunities as companies have, just support us out community and support. That's a difference. And it's exactly the same code.
Very good, very good. Changing the topic a little bit. Clearly, you make use of cryptography a lot, right, in software. Are you expecting any major work that needs to happen in this area with the, say, advent of quantum computing?
Yeah, sure. Yes, post-quantum computing. For algorithms which people believe, or mathematicians believe, that they are more robust against quantum computers. They're a hot topic, and in particular because the idea is, we now have data which has been recorded by others, because the encrypted data has been recorded and saved in Utah by the NSA or somewhere else. People store them, and as soon as they run computers, they can read our confidential stuff then later, and we need to do something against this. And that's the reason why the BSI, the German Federal Agency for Security, Information Security, is forcing that we should all use PQC algorithms, so post-quantum computer safe algorithms. But the problem here is that these algorithms are pretty new. There's not much experience with that, but anyway, that they want to do that, and the way they do that is that they encrypt it with these new post-quantum secure algorithms, and then this encrypted stuff is again encrypted using our standard algorithms. So just in case the post-quantum algorithms have some weaknesses, we still have the old encryption, and as long as there are no working quantum computers which are able to break RSA or ECC or anything, these algorithms we're still safe. And that's something which should be deployed now. They would like it to deploy it now, so that everything which is encrypted is also safe in 30 years. But the time frame is, I guess, we need 2 years at least to get this all deployed.
But from your software point of view, it's just a question of if I'm correct, adding in new algorithms. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's so OpenPGP. So the protocol is a kind of a framework, and we have algorithm agility there, so we can change the algorithms and insert new algorithms, and that's what we're trying to do right now. So we hope to get a version of GNU PG output and post-quantum encryption using the Kyber, or Crystals Kyber is it called, algorithms, which is also implemented in SSH, for example. Meanwhile, we get it deployed, but now we get a first beta in some of this, and so that we can give some movement there, that it gets faster out. Because for the approval, the German agency, they always have this sentence in there. This software is not quantum computer safe, so take care.
So is that, do you work mainly with the German government on this, or do you have other inputs as well on that?
Yeah, the NSA on NIST is so the US people are they are on a standardization process where they have, I think, they have selected Crystals Kyber for encryption. It's the most likely outcome. It's nearly through the standardization process. They want that too. They actually said that you should wait before moving from RSA to ECC, because we think that it's better to move directly to post-quantum algorithms. So that the US and the Europeans, let's say Germany, I can mostly only speak to for Germany. They want to have this too. Yeah. There's a real movement in this direction. Whether this is really needed is a different question, but they want it, they pay for that, so they get it.
Fair enough. Speaking of standardization bodies, I can recall a LibreOffice spat. I came across this full disclosure in December of last year in a publication called Linux Weekly News, LWN, where apparently Mr. Koch meddled with the dark forces, namely the Internet Engineering Task Force, when it came down to the future directions of OpenGP. Maybe you can talk a little bit about the reasons behind this, what actually happened. We don't have to go into the technical details, of course, and what happened afterwards.
Oh dear. The best thing is, if you're interested in this, so go to LibrePGP.org, which is a website we set up, and there's a timeline. This gives some insight into it. So the story is that the default algorithms in OpenPGP were SHA-1 and what were the other? AES, and triple DES. So they were the defaults, and it should be is a goal to update them to more standard, more modern algorithms like SHA-2, SHA-256, particular, and IAS, of course. Actually, most of OpenPGP implementations use this because of this algorithm agility we have there and preferences system. It's used, but we need a new standard for this, and we wanted to do that. I started with this in 2015, so 9 years ago. Worked on that and promised, we were ready in 2 years, but it took longer. It took longer because of trouble in the IETF working group, because suddenly a lot of new implementations of OpenPGP showed up, and they had their own ideas, or maybe should I say they just wanted to get more of this chair. No. Read it somewhere. We have written enough about this. That it's a whole mess to work with the OpenPGP working group in the IETF. But I think this is more general problem in the IETF. The former running code to specify something where it's running code and you have interoperable implementation. That's enough, and we write a standard. That's not anymore the case with the IETF. There are too many political things therein, and company things that, for example, the large companies, they can afford to have a large group of people working in the working groups and not and spend a lot of time on this. And the single developers or small companies, they can't afford to do this because they just want to get the working code out. And so some of the working groups I feel in the IETF are more discussing, and they're doing more a design by committee, which is actually in contrast to what the IETF used to do. And so it's more like the ISO, which was always said, ISO, X550, X400 and things, and too bad, all designed by committee does not work. And I fear that the IETF or some parts of the IETF is going into the same direction.
Interesting perspective. Without spending too much time on that spat, LWN used the term disruptive when it described the motion or the direction that the IETF wanted to take OpenGP, whereas you proposed a more continuation of the standard in terms of incremental small changes rather than a disruptive move. Did I get that right?
Well, kind of. So, yes, they want something different, and I think there is one of the problem is that the people today, the younger people today, think of the web, and it's easier. We have all web applications. Or deployment is not a problem. We just distribute the new JavaScript code, and everything works, and we have it all running on our servers, and they are easy to update. So, in particular, Proton Mail is one of these groups are doing this. That's okay for them, but it's an entirely different thing than having software running on many machines, on client, measured desktops, and things you don't touch anymore. And so this does not work that well. So we need to prepare prepare things. We have to deploy stuff. So I say always we deploy things in read-only mode, so that, and a couple of years later we enable the feature so that we actually use it. And then even in the old software already deployed, you can read the stuff then with that. And that worked very well over the last 25 years to adding new algorithms and so on. And so we did this, we deployed this, we agreed with Ribus, with the other big player there on things, did interoperability testing, and things worked. But they want something different because they like it more, and don't ignore all the trouble you have if you have a lot of deployments out there. So some installations run for 10 years without changing, which is not good, but on an air-gapped machine, maybe it's okay.
Okay, clearly a lot of work has gone into this over many years. How do you see the project evolving and developing? You mentioned that your company itself is 10 employees now, something like that. So, but in terms of the open source projects, how do you see that moving on?
You mean in particular GNU PG?
Yes.
Well, we don't really make a difference between the open source and the commercial thing. So we develop something which is for Debian, for Linux. It's for Windows. That's the code we get out, and we do all the support what we did all over the last 25 years. Now the customers get some extra configuration stuff and doing something for Windows registry stuff and customized configurations. That's what they're doing. So we are fully an open source or free software company, and we release all our source code, of course. Sometimes we keep new developments a little bit under the hood. That's for commercial interest, but in the end, any customer can receive the code, and they can hand it out to others, which is entirely legal and entirely okay for us. But sometimes we need to get some advantage by just doing things a couple of months earlier than others can see that. That's basically about infrastructure projects like signing, automatic validations, or signing servers and this kind of stuff. Right. So we are really glad that we can help the community to do things. So in particular KDE. So we're a sponsor of KDE, and we have quite some KDE developers hired, or they're working for us. And we're doing just things to fix things which people need, because there is often this thing which you see, works for me. So KML, it works for me. Yeah, that does not work, but I don't care. I don't need this. And if we see this kind of bugs there, we just start to go. Ask someone to fix that bugs. These are all these little percent you need to have a really good competitor to, I say, proprietary stuff from Redmond.
Now, interesting perspective. Final call to action. If you're still looking for helping hands, and if people have bandwidth to spare, how should they get in touch? Is there GitHub repo? How can they contribute? Are you looking for people to help with the documentation, all the rest of it? Just now is the time.
Well, my experience is that it's hard to work on that code base. We have a couple of contributors. They do things, and that's really nice. But actually, there is also the saying that you need Frederick Brooks wrote that you need to have small teams for a project, and that they don't spread too big. So if you have more than 10 developers on a project, that's not really good, because you can't split it really up. And so what help we can do? So for a company, we're looking for an administrator who is really good in Linux stuff and doesn't feel building up a Windows test network. And on the other hand, documentation is of course something which is not that good. There is this other project from my former employees. This is the Acquire stuff. They received a lot of money for documentation and stuff for their software from the German government. Of course, we would like to have this too, but there are so many other tasks we need to do, and helping customers to get a basic understanding and make their systems more secure. And that's way beyond cryptography. Cryptography is not the real problem we have in IT security. The problems are elsewhere.
Agreed.
So,
mostly in front of the screen, right?
Yeah.
But that's a different subject for a different show, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay, that has been more than insightful. As part of the wrap-up, we normally do a format called the boxes, as in the picks of the week, where people talk about anything that has crossed their path in the last couple of weeks worth mentioning. Now, Martin, to use the old adage, normally goes for Amish adult entertainment websites. I normally review movies and books, but really anything goes. So, Werner, what's your pox?
Oh, my pox. Not so. I'm a bit interested in modern money theory. That's
Okay.
That's about death and what the difference between death of a state, of the government like the US or independent or Britain, and that of private household.
Yeah.
That is also interesting for everyone. Why there is money for infrastructure, why there's no money for infrastructure, who needs to pay for this? And I think that's a very interesting topic beyond open source, free software, and these things. But it's also important, yeah.
So any books to recommend? Any movies to watch? Any websites to visit?
Books, yeah.
If not, we can leave it at that. I mean, in that case,
yeah, we can
make something up for the show notes, like one of the old ones, like Peter Schumpeter or some other.
I mean that. I'm a bit too tired, and so I don't have my books here in the.
So don't worry about it.
My home office that's up in the living room.
I'm sure we can think of something for the show notes.
Yeah, definitely should be easy.
Martin, over to you. What's your pox?
My pox is it's a half pox because I'm not entirely convinced by it, but
fair enough. Just go for it anyway.
It's something most people probably be familiar with, but it's not something I had seen before. It's a series called Homeland, which is now available for the last. Yeah, it's I don't know where it was originally published. Probably
that's
on
ancient,
Netflix.
no?
It is.
As in 20 seasons or something.
I think there's about 8, but slowly making my way through them. And
with about 20 episodes per season or something?
No, it's
more.
It's about 12, I think. So
okay.
As I said, it's a half pox because some of it's a bit lame in places, but it's quite watchable.
Well, it's American TV for you, Martin.
Very true. Yes. Well, the problem is there's not much alternatives these days.
Well, there is, but that's another pox for another show, I suppose. Yeah, it's a teaser. Just pay attention for the next couple of episodes, and then maybe we can come up with some real riveting stuff. Anyway, okay, over to my box. It's actually a book for a change. It's called Working Backwards, and it's written by, who is it? Bear with me. I have it here on my shelf. It's actually written by Colin Breyer and Bill Carr, two former Amazon employees, and essentially on the surface, the book is about Amazon's management principles, among other stuff. Yes, that makes the book probably pretty much like Martin's box, halfway worth reading it. But what is equally interesting, basically, they tell a lot of anecdotes how Amazon became what it is today, as in how they came up with Prime, how they set up AWS as an Amazon Web Service, and all the rest of it. You can think about the management principles all you want, but from a business perspective, this is pretty insightful what's written kind of, I'm almost tempted to say, in between the lines, because it does give a lot of insight where Amazon comes from and how Jeff and friends managed to steer this into this multi-trillion blah 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 whatever it what's what I'm looking for, Goliath
Bookstore.
of a company. Yes, exactly.
Yes. You're a bit of a fan of the bookstore anyway, aren't you?
Am I? Full disclosure, I'm not an AWS customer. Anyway, and with that, Werner, thank you very much for being here. That has been more than insightful. Keep up the good work, and say we should have you back in a couple of years' time to talk about biological quantum-based cryptography going forward.
I see. Yes.
And no spats with the IETF, please. I'm joking.
Yeah.
Werner, thank you very much, and take care.
Thank you for having me, as the Americans say.
Yes. Glad to have you as part of the show. And cut. Werner, thank you very much.
Okay. Bye.
Martin has to run, I suppose. So do I. This should go live before the year's over. I will keep you posted either when meeting you in person at a conference or sending a mail.
Okay, so I have to listen to the XMPP episode still.
You can, as I said.
I'm actually starting.
Okay, yeah, please do. Please do
today. So I'm a big fan of XMPP.
Okay, yes, great. No, it's currently penciled in to go live around November timeframe, but schedules may change. So once it's released, let me send you a mail if we do not meet in person prior.
Right. Okay.
Take care.
Take care.
This is the Linux In-Laws.
You come for the knowledge,
but stay for the madness.
Thank you for listening.
This podcast is licensed under the latest version of the Creative Commons license, type Attribution Share Alike. Credits for the intro music go to Blue Sea Roosters for their song Salute Margaret, to Twin Flames for their piece called The Flow, used for the segment intros, and finally to Celestial Ground for their song Sweet Justice, used by the Dark Side. You find these and other ditties licensed under CC at Jamendo, a website dedicated to liberate the music industry from choking copyright legislation and other crap concepts.